You know, I hope you guys enjoyed that little 20-second snippet because I had literally no other idea on how to start this video. And I swear, if that song that I used ends up being copyright, I'm gonna be so mad. Hey everyone, this is Syntax, and today I have something for you that can't really be explained by either the thumbnail or the title of the video. So if you clicked on this and you've been watching up to this point, you're probably still wondering what the video is about. Well, it turns out when I combine extreme boredom and a crippling lack of desire and motivation to build anything with an idea that's been sitting in the back of my head for like weeks now, I end up building what is probably the most random thing that I have ever built. After I finished Explosive Chase, I was in a creative slump. I did not want to build anything. I didn't even want to touch creative. I was playing Battle Royale for the past couple of weeks, but I remember while I was building the map, I had this idea for an artistic build that I wanted to build after I was finished, and for whatever reason, I had some kind of burst of motivation and just went ahead and built it. Now, could I have used this time to brainstorm a new project and get started on a new map? Sure, but I can't build maps all the time. I get bored of making that kind of content, and I figure, you know what, this will only take me a little bit, and it ended up actually only taking me 10 hours, so it really wasn't that bad, and I think it turned out really well. It's also fair to point out that this is just an artistic build. There is literally no other purpose for it other than to show it off in what is this YouTube video, and I posted that beginning clip on Twitter. So I literally just built it to show people what I'm capable of, but like, again, I think it turned out nice. You guys remember about a minute ago when I said this is probably the most random thing that I've ever built? Yeah, I don't think you're genuinely ready for how truly random this is. I actually got the inspiration to build this from scrolling on TikTok. I came across this guy's page where he was drawing both the horror versions and anime versions of fast food mascots, and the one that caught my attention the most from him was his version of the Jack in the Box mascot. If you've never been to a Jack in the Box, it's pretty much just a more versatile Taco Bell in terms of their menu options. But anyway, the mascot for Jack in the Box is a guy in this really nice suit, and he has a round white head with blue eyes, a yellow cone hat, a black nose, and a red smile. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure there actually was a horror movie made with the Jack in the Box character that was pretty much exactly how I described it, but like the horror version. And when I saw what this guy had drawn, I was like, you know what? I could do that in Fortnite. It's pretty simple, like relatively simple. I'm gonna try and recreate that. Now, unfortunately, I didn't like the video for whatever reason, and I can't find the guy's page that drew it, but I found a picture on the internet that represents it pretty well. And if you look, it is the Jack in the Box character, but he has a really wide, bloodied smile, a really tattered suit, and he has these long, white fingers with black nails. What's funny about this is I've only eaten at Jack in the Box like once in my entire life. It's not like some regular fast food restaurant that I visit constantly, but as soon as I saw that version of it, for whatever reason, I had this burning desire to try to recreate it in Fortnite, and this is what I ended up coming up with. I had this idea for a sort of Outlast-style abandoned asylum look, where I wanted to have these really broken up walls and broken floorboards and a busted up ceiling, and I wanted to place a wheelchair in the center of a semi-well lit hallway. I figured I would start with just the basic layout of the hallway. I'd throw a couple door frames in there, a couple windows with glass that had been busted out, a custom floor so I could mess with the floorboards however I wanted, and then I used the same technique that Chowdy used in his town map to build both the walls and the ceilings, and they ended up looking really nice. Once I had the walls and the ceiling built with all the cracks where I wanted them to be, and I had all of the floorboards placed, my next goal was to build a wheelchair, and that's something that I had actually never tried before. I had never tried to build any sort of wheel, so it was something that I was approaching completely blind, and I actually am really proud of myself because I really enjoy how the wheelchair turned out. I actually was planning on making a few videos regarding the techniques that I used in this artistic build, so if you guys are interested in seeing something like that and you want to have a few tools added to your arsenal, just be sure to comment it down below. Believe it or not, the wheelchair is actually made up of 342 individual pieces, the main body section being 100 pieces, each larger wheel being 81 pieces, and each of the smaller wheels being 40 pieces, making it the most prop-dense item that I have ever built in this game. Anyway, enough about the wheelchair. Once I had that placed in the center of the hallway, slightly turned to the right, I went ahead and built the very simple Jack in the Box model. The hardest thing about him was actually the shoes and the hat, believe it or not, because I had never tried to build a hat like that, and I had never tried to build shoes before, so that was surprisingly challenging. I started with the Jack in the Box head, then I built the straight jacket and the legs and the shoes, and once I got him fully built, I was able to get him situated in the wheelchair, and I thought he looked pretty good, so I moved on to the larger, more scary looking model, and it was the same process really. I started with the head, then I built the suit and the arms and the legs and the shoes. It all really came together extremely well. Now, because this was a purely perspective based artistic build, I didn't bother building his other arm, hand, leg, and shoe because you wouldn't be able to see it anyway, but if this was for like an actual horror map, then I would fully build it. But if you go behind and look at his suit, it is extremely scuffed, but you wouldn't be able to see it like that anyway, so it's really not a problem. Now, the way I positioned him, I wanted to make it look like he was wrapping his fingers around the light bulb and was about to crush it to make it go dark, but from where I took the main screenshot, it was really hard to tell that that's what he was doing because you couldn't really see his long black fingernails, and those are the only thing touching the light bulb. So that's where I got this other idea. For whatever reason, I really wanted to highlight the fact that he had super long nails, so I figured I would try to make it look like there was multiple of him by placing a pair of hands coming out of the door on the left and a pair of hands coming out of the window on the right. And this actually ended up being one of my favorite parts of the build, if not my favorite part of the build. While I was finishing up the build, a friend of mine suggested that I put streaks of blood following the nails on both the wall and the door, and I was like, sure, yeah, I can try it and see how it looks. And like I said before, it ended up being one of my favorite parts about this build. It just adds that element of eeriness to it, and I just really like how it ended up looking. So yeah, after about 10 hours and thousands of meticulously placed props, I ended up with this, the most random thing that I have ever built. Now, ladies and gentlemen, oddly enough, this artistic build puts me in a situation where we actually have a couple of options here. I did tell myself that I wasn't going to do this, but because I genuinely enjoyed using this build style, trying techniques that I had never tried before, building things that I had never built before, it is a very real possibility that if enough of you want it, I can turn this into its own horror map. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be as scary as it could be because you've already seen who the main horror character would be, and I would want to hit up Jack in the Box to make sure they're at least okay with me doing it, but I could genuinely attempt to make an asylum-themed horror map with this character. And honestly, even if I still wanted to use the character, there doesn't have to be an entire map revolving around him. I could just have him as part of a smaller subsection of a different horror map. There are a lot of options, like I said, that are presented, and I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. But yeah, I'll leave it up to you guys. Let me know if you would rather see a sort of Outlast-style abandoned asylum story map revolving around this character, or if you would just rather he is part of a smaller subsection of a different horror map. Or if you have a better idea, just leave it in the comments and I'll be sure to look at it. Anyway, guys, that is everything I have for you today. I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, this has been Syntax. Later.